Welcome to English Podcast Home. I'm Adam.
And I'm Sarah. In today's episode, we're talking about British English versus American English.
You will learn the real differences in vocabulary, pronunciation, and spelling.
So stay with us, and let's make English simple and clear for you.
So, Sarah, today I want to clear something up for learners. People often get confused between British English and American English. They think it's two completely different languages, and that creates fear when they try to speak.
Yes, Adam, and that's not true at all. They are the same language with the same base, but the difference is in spelling, pronunciation, and vocabulary. Once learners understand this, English becomes much easier and more fun.
Okay, let's start step by step. First, vocabulary differences. For example, in British English, we say flat, but in American English, people say apartment. Same meaning, different word.
Right. And another common one is lift in British English, but in American English, it is elevator. Imagine learners watching movies and hearing both words. They get confused if they don't know this.
Exactly. And what about holiday? In British English, it means time off or travel break, but in American English, people usually say vacation.
Yes, and football is a very interesting example. In the UK, football means soccer, but in the US, football is a completely different sport with helmets and rules. So context is very important.
That's why learners should not translate word by word. They should understand meaning in context.
Absolutely. Now, let's go deeper into everyday life words. In British English, people say lorry, but in American English, they say truck.
And British English uses biscuit, while Americans say cookie. Small words, but very common in daily conversations.
Another one is petrol in British English, but in American English, it is gas or gasoline. Even at a gas station, the language changes.
That's true. Now let's move to spelling differences, which learners often notice in writing.
Yes. For example, British English uses color with U, but American English writes it as color. Both are correct, just different styles.
And words like centre in British English become centre in American English.
Also, realize in British English becomes realize in American English. The S changes to Z, and that pattern appears in many words.
So, learners don't need to panic when they see different spelling in books or online content. It depends on the country.
Exactly. Now, pronunciation is another big difference. For example, the word water in British English sounds like wada.
And in American English, it sounds more like water. The T becomes softer.
Another important difference is the letter R. Americans pronounce the R very strongly in words like car, teacher, and morning.
While in British English, the R is softer or sometimes not pronounced clearly, depending on the word.
Now let's talk about daily conversations. In British English, people might say, "I'm going to the loo," when talking informally.
And in American English, they usually say restroom or bathroom. Even simple daily expressions are different.
Another example is greeting style. British people often say, "How are you?" in a polite and calm way.
Americans might say, "What's up?" or "How's it going?" which sounds more casual and friendly.
So learners should always think about context. Formal or informal situation changes the choice of words.
Sarah, do you think learners should only focus on British or American English?
Not really. I think beginners should understand both. Later, they can choose the version they hear most in movies, songs, or daily life.
That makes sense. So exposure is more important than perfection.
Exactly. If you listen to both regularly, your brain naturally understands both styles without pressure.
So the real goal is communication, not perfection.
Yes, and both British and American English are correct. There is no wrong version, only different styles.
I like that idea. It removes fear from learners.
Definitely. When learners stop worrying about which is correct, they start speaking more confidently.
So the key message is simple. Same language, different style.
And if you stay consistent in your own speaking, people will understand you perfectly anywhere in the world.
So that's all for today's episode. Now you can clearly understand British English versus American English.
Yes, remember, both are correct, just different styles. Keep practicing and don't be afraid of mistakes.
Keep listening, keep learning, and improve your English every day.
Thanks for listening to English Podcast Home. See you in the next episode.